The summer sky over Bizen was beautiful that morning. Yuna stood on the archery field behind her house. She pulled back her bowstring and aimed at the target 50 meters away. The arrow flew straight and hit the center. She smiled. After 10 years of practice, her aim was perfect. Her younger brother Taiho clapped his hands from the wooden bench nearby. He was 22 years old, 3 years younger than Yuna. He had come to visit her for the weekend. "You are still the best archer in Korea," Taiho said. "Maybe the best in the world." Yuna lowered her bow and walked toward him. "I retired 2 years ago. The Olympics are for young people now." "You are only 25, Taiho laughed. "That is not old." Yuna sat beside him and drank water from her bottle. The morning sun felt warm on her face. She was happy. Life was peaceful. She had a small house near the mountains. She taught archery to children at the local school. It was a simple life, but she loved it. "Are you hungry?" she asked. "I can make breakfast." Before Taiho could answer, something strange happened. The sky changed color. It went from bright blue to dark purple in just a few seconds. Yuna stood up and looked at the clouds. They were moving in a circle, like water going down a drain. "What is that?" Taiho asked. His voice was scared. Yuna did not answer. She watched the sky with wide eyes. A hole opened in the clouds. It was black and deep, like a wound in the heavens. And then something came through. Ships. Hundreds of ships. They were not like any aircraft Yuna had ever seen. They were organic, like giant insects. Their bodies were covered in hard shells that shined like wet metal. Wings that looked like dragonfly wings beat the air. Each ship was as big as a football stadium. The ships spread across the sky in all directions. Yuna's phone buzzed in her pocket. She took it out and saw emergency alerts filling the screen. The same thing was happening everywhere. Seoul, Tokyo, Beijing, New York, London. The whole world was under attack. "We need to go inside," Yuna said. She grabbed Taiho's arm and pulled him toward the house. They ran through the back door and into the living room. Yuna turned on the television. Every channel showed the same thing. The strange ships were landing in major cities. Creatures were coming out of them. The news reporter called them aliens. She was crying as she spoke. The creatures were tall and thin. They had 6 legs and 2 arms. Their heads were shaped like triangles, with many eyes covering their faces. Their skin was dark green, almost black. They moved fast, faster than any human could run. The military tried to fight. Tanks fired at the creatures. Helicopters attacked the ships. But nothing worked. The aliens had shields that stopped all the bullets and missiles. When the shields flashed, the weapons just bounced away. Then the aliens fired back. Beams of red light shot from their ships. Buildings exploded. Tanks melted. Thousands of soldiers died in seconds. Yuna watched in horror. She had been in the army for 2 years after high school. She knew what military power looked like. This was not a fight. This was a massacre. "What do we do?" Taiho asked. He was shaking. Yuna thought fast. Her house was far from the city center. Maybe the aliens would not come here. But she knew that was wishful thinking. If these creatures wanted Earth, they would take all of it. "Pack a bag," she said. "Only important things. We leave in 5 minutes." Taiho nodded and ran to the guest room. Yuna went to her bedroom. She pulled a large bag from under her bed. Inside was her competition bow, the one she had used in the Olympics. It was made of carbon fiber, light and strong. She had 20 arrows in a quiver beside it. She knew arrows would not hurt the aliens. But holding her bow made her feel less helpless. She packed clothes, food, water, and medicine. She took her father's old hunting knife. He had died 5 years ago, but she kept his things. The knife had a sharp blade and a comfortable handle. It was a good tool for survival. When she returned to the living room, Taiho was waiting. He had a backpack over his shoulders. His face was pale, but his eyes were determined. "Where do we go?" he asked. "The mountains," Yuna said. "There are caves there. We can hide." They left through the back door. Yuna's car was parked behind the house. She threw the bags into the back seat and started the engine. The road ahead was empty. Most people were running toward the city, hoping to find safety in numbers. Yuna knew that was wrong. The cities were the targets. The mountains were the only chance. She drove fast. The road twisted through green hills and thick forests. Behind them, she could see smoke rising from Bison. The aliens were destroying everything. After 30 minutes, the car stopped. The engine made a strange sound and died. Yuna tried to start it again, but nothing happened. "What is wrong?" Taiho asked. Yuna got out and opened the hood. There was nothing visibly broken. Then she understood. The aliens had some kind of technology that stopped machines from working. She had read about this in science fiction books. An electromagnetic pulse or something like it. "We walk from here," she said. They took their bags and started up the mountain path. The forest was quiet. No birds sang. No insects buzzed. Even the animals knew something terrible was happening. They walked for hours. The sun moved across the sky, but it was hard to see through the purple clouds. The air smelled strange, like burning plastic and rotten eggs. Yuna covered her nose with her shirt as evening came. They heard sounds behind them. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Yuna pulled Taiho behind a large rock and looked back at the path. Aliens. A group of about 20. They were walking through the forest, searching. Their many eyes scanned the trees. Their triangular heads moved left and right. They carried weapons that looked like rifles, but made of bone and metal mixed together. Yuna held her breath. Taiho pressed against her, trembling. The aliens came closer. 10 meters. 5 meters. Yuna could smell them now. They smelled like dead fish and copper. One of the aliens stopped. It turned its head toward the rock where Yuna and Taiho were hiding. Its eyes, all 12 of them, seemed to look right at her. Yuna's hand moved to her bow. She knew it was useless, but she would not die without fighting. Then a sound came from the other direction. A deer ran through the trees, scared and confused. The alien turned toward it. The whole group moved away, following the deer. They disappeared into the forest. Yuna waited 5 more minutes before moving. Then she grabbed Taiho's hand and they ran. They reached the caves as night fell. The entrance was small, hidden behind thick bushes. Yuna had found this place years ago when she was hiking. She never thought she would need it like this. Inside, the cave was dark and cold. But it was safe. Yuna used her phone's flashlight to look around. The cave went deep into the mountain. There were several chambers connected by narrow tunnels. They set up camp in the largest chamber. Yuna made a small fire using dry leaves and branches. The smoke went up through cracks in the ceiling. She hoped the aliens could not see it. Taiho sat close to the fire. He had not spoken for hours. Yuna understood. The world they knew was gone. Everything had changed in one day. "We will survive," Yuna said. "We are smart and strong. We will find other survivors. We will fight back." Taiho looked at her. "How? They have shields. They have weapons we cannot understand. How can we fight them?" Yuna did not have an answer, but she refused to give up. Humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. They would survive this too. "We start tomorrow," she said. "Tonight, we rest." She gave Taiho some food and water. Then she sat at the cave entrance and watched the sky. The purple clouds still covered everything. Through gaps in the clouds, she could see the alien ships moving. They were patrolling, looking for survivors. Yuna thought about her parents. They had died years ago, but she was glad they did not have to see this. She thought about her friends, her students, everyone she knew in Bizin. Were they alive? Were they captured? She might never know. A tear rolled down her cheek, but she wiped it away. Crying would not help. Only action would help. She had to be strong. For Taiho, for herself. For humanity. The night passed slowly. Yuna did not sleep. She listened to every sound, watched every shadow. When morning came, she was tired but determined. She woke Taiho and they ate a small breakfast. Then Yuna explained her plan. We need to find other survivors. There must be people hiding in the mountains. If we can gather enough people, we can form a group. We can share food and protection. Maybe we can even find a way to hurt the aliens. Taiho nodded. Where do we start? We explore the area. Carefully. We avoid the aliens. We look for signs of human activity. Smoke, footprints, anything. They packed their things and left the cave. The morning air was fresh and clean. The purple color in the sky was lighter now, almost normal. But the alien ships were still there, dark shapes moving slowly above the clouds. Yuna led the way through the forest. She moved quietly, using the skills her father had taught her during hunting trips. She listened for sounds, watched for movement. Every few minutes, she stopped and looked around. After 2 hours, they found something. A cabin, hidden in a valley between 2 hills. Smoke rose from the chimney. Someone was inside. Yuna approached carefully. She told Taiho to wait behind a tree. She held her bow ready, just in case. She did not know if the person inside was friendly. She knocked on the door. Hello? Is anyone there? We're survivors from Bizan. The door opened. A man stood inside. He was about 40 years old, with gray hair and kind eyes. He looked tired but not dangerous. Come in, he said. Quickly, before they see you. Yuna called Taiho. 3 months passed since the invasion began. The world was different now. The great cities were empty shells. The Velix had captured billions of humans. They took them to huge camps where they worked as slaves, building structures that no one understood. The lucky ones hid in forests, mountains, and underground shelters. The resistance was small, but it was growing. Yuna stood at the entrance of their new home. It was an abandoned mine deep in the mountains. Over the past weeks, more than 60 survivors had found their way here. They had formed a community. They shared food, water, and hope. Yuna had become the unofficial leader. He was smart and calm. People trusted him. His knowledge about the Velix was valuable. Every night, he taught the group what he knew about the enemy. The Velix do not see the way we do, he explained during one meeting. They sense heat and movement. That is why we must always stay hidden during the day when the sun makes everything warm. We move at night when everything is cold. Yuna listened carefully to every lesson. She trained her body and mind. Every morning, she practiced with her bow. Every afternoon, she explored the forest, learning every path and hiding spot. She was preparing for something. She did not know what yet, but she felt it coming. Taiho had changed too. He was no longer the scared young man from the first day. He had become strong and useful. He helped organize food supplies and led small groups to collect water from the nearby stream. Yuna was proud of him. One evening, Doyun called a special meeting. His face was serious. Something important had happened. I have been studying samples, he said. Samples from a dead Velix we found last month. Everyone remembered that day. A Velix soldier had wandered too close to the mine. Junwoo had killed it with a heavy rock while it slept. It was the first time they had seen the aliens die. It gave them hope. Do-yoon continued. The Velix body is very strong. Their shells can stop bullets. Their blood heals wounds quickly. They are almost perfect warriors. Almost? Yuna asked. Do-yoon smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. I found something. A weakness. The room went silent. Everyone leaned forward. In my research before the invasion, I studied many alien signals. The Velix are not the first species to visit Earth. Others came millions of years ago. Some of their biology became part of our planet. The Velix know this. That is why they chose Earth. They want something here. What do they want? Minji asked. I am not sure yet. But that is not the important part. Dahan pulled out a small jar. Inside was a dark purple liquid. This is the important part. He held up the jar for everyone to see. This is a toxin. I made it from a plant that grows only in Korea. It is called ghost flower. It blooms at night and dies by morning. Very rare. Very special. What does it do? Yuna asked. To humans, nothing. We can drink it like water and feel fine. But to the Velix, it is deadly. When I tested it on the dead soldier's tissue, the cells died immediately. The shell became soft. The blood turned to dust. Gasps filled the room. People looked at each other with wide eyes. A weapon. They finally had a weapon. But there is a problem, Do-yoon said. His smile faded. To kill a normal Velix soldier is not enough. More will come. Thousands. Millions. The only way to truly win is to kill the queen. Where is the queen? Someone asked. On the main ship. The largest one. It never moves from its position above Seoul. The queen controls all Velix through a mental connection. If she dies, the others will lose their minds. They will become confused and weak. We can defeat them. Yuna stood up. Her heart was beating fast. How do we get the toxin to the queen? Do-hyun looked at her. His eyes were sad. That is the second problem. The queen is protected by thousands of soldiers. No army could reach her. The only way is for one person to sneak inside. One person with perfect aim. One person brave enough to die trying. The room was quiet again. Everyone understood what Do-yoon was saying. This was a suicide mission. Whoever went would probably never come back. Yuna did not hesitate. I will go. Taiho jumped up. No, Yuna, you cannot do this. You will die. Maybe, Yuna said calmly. But if I succeed, humanity will live. That is a good trade. Do-han walked toward her. Are you sure? This is not something you can undo. Once you enter the hive ship, there is no way out. I am sure. Yuna looked at her brother. Taiho, I have trained my whole life for this moment. I did not know it then, but I know it now. Every arrow I ever shot was practice for this one mission. I have to try. Taiho's eyes filled with tears. He wanted to argue, but he knew his sister. Once she decided something, nothing could change her mind. He hugged her tightly. Please come back, he whispered. I will try, she said. The next few weeks were busy. Do-hyun worked day and night to make more toxin. He needed enough to coat several arrows. Yuna helped him collect ghost flowers from a secret valley. The flowers were beautiful, glowing faintly purple in the moonlight. It was hard to believe they held the key to saving humanity. Meanwhile, Jungwoo and other scouts studied the alien ship. They watched it from far away, noting patterns and movements. The ship had openings on its sides that soldiers used to fly in and out. If Yuna could find a way inside, she might have a chance. The ship is organic, Jungwoo reported. It is like a giant insect itself. The corridors inside are narrow and twisting. If you stay quiet and move slowly, you might avoid the soldiers. Yuna memorized every detail. She practiced moving silently through the forest. She learned to control her heartbeat and her breathing. The Velix could sense fear. She had to be calm, no matter what. On the night before her departure, Do-hyun presented her with 5 arrows. They were her original arrows, but now they were different. The tips were coated with a thick layer of purple toxin. It glittered in the firelight. Each arrow has enough toxin to kill the queen 10 times, Do-hyun said. But the queen is larger than a normal Velix, much larger. You need to hit her directly in the head or the heart. Anywhere else, and the toxin might not work fast enough. Yuna took the arrows carefully. They felt heavier than before. Not because of the toxin, but because of what they represented. The hope of billions of people rested on these 5 small pieces of wood and metal. "Thank you," she said. "For everything?" Do-hyun shook his head. "Thank me when you return. When humanity is free." That night, Yuna could not sleep. She sat at the entrance of the mine and looked at the stars, or what she could see of them through the alien clouds. The purple color was always there now, a constant reminder that Earth was no longer free. She thought about her life, her parents, her training, her victories and failures. She wondered if her mother and father were watching from somewhere. She hoped they were proud. Taiho came and sat beside her. They did not speak for a long time. Words felt unnecessary. They just sat together, 2 siblings facing the end of the world. "Do you remember when we were children?" Taiho finally asked. "You used to shoot arrows at apples in the backyard. You never missed." Yuna smiled. "Father used to get so angry. He said I was wasting food. But then you won your first competition. And he cried. He was so proud. I remember." Yuna looked at her brother. "I wish he could see me now." "He can," Taiho said. "I believe that. Wherever he is, he's watching. And he is proud." They hugged again. This time, Yuna did not want to let go. But she knew she had to. The mission could not wait. That morning came too quickly. The resistance gathered to say goodbye. 60 people, all standing in silence. Some were crying. Others looked determined. Everyone knew what was at stake. Yuna wore simple dark clothes that Minji had prepared. They were lightweight and quiet. Her bow hung across her back. The 5 purple arrows were in a special case on her belt. She also carried water, some food, and a small knife. Do-hyun gave her final instructions. "The ship is 30 kilometers east. You can reach it by tomorrow morning if you travel all night. There is an old highway that leads close to Seoul, but be careful. The Velix patrol the roads." Yuna nodded. "I understand. When you enter the ship, follow the warmth. The queen produces more heat than anything else inside. She will be at the center, in the largest chamber. You will feel her before you see her. Follow the warmth. Find the center. Kill the queen." Yuna repeated the words like a prayer. Do-hyun took her hand. "You are the bravest person I have ever met. Whatever happens, know that you have already saved us. You have given us hope. And hope is the most powerful weapon of all." Yuna bowed deeply. "Thank you for believing in me." She turned to face the group. So many faces. So many stories. Each person here had lost something. Family, friends, home. But they had not lost their spirit. They were still fighting. "I do not know if I will succeed," Yuna said, her voice clear and strong. "But I know this. Humans are not weak. We are not easy to break. We have survived everything this universe has thrown at us. Ice ages, plagues, wars, and we will survive this. Because we do not give up. We do not surrender. We fight until our last breath." The crowd cheered. The sound echoed through the mountains. For a moment, Yuna felt like a queen herself. A queen of the broken but unbeaten human race. She hugged Taiho one last time. Take care of everyone. Be the leader they need. I will, Taiho promised. And you will come back. I know you will. Yuna smiled. Then she turned and walked into the forest. The journey was long and dangerous. Yuna moved care. The chamber was enormous. It stretched so far that Yuna could not see the walls on the other side. The ceiling was high above, covered with strange glowing plants that gave off a sickly green light. The air was thick and hot, like standing inside an oven. Every breath burned Yuna's lungs, and there, in the center of it all, was the queen. She was nothing like the soldiers Yuna had seen before. She was massive, at least 50 meters long and 20 meters tall. Her body was a twisted combination of insect and something else, something almost beautiful in a terrifying way. Her shell was not dark green like the others. It was golden, shining like metal in the strange light. 6 huge legs supported her weight, and 2 long arms hung at her sides, each ending in claws that could cut through stone. But it was her face that truly frightened Yuna. The queen had 100 eyes, covering every part of her head. They were all different sizes and colors, and they were all looking at Yuna. Every single one. Yuna felt naked, exposed. Those eyes saw everything. They saw her fear, her determination, her memories. They saw the purple arrows in her hand. They saw death coming. For a moment, Yuna could not move. Her body was frozen. The queen's presence was overwhelming. It was like standing in front of a god. A dark, hungry god that wanted to consume everything. Then the queen spoke. Not with words. The queen had no mouth for speaking. Instead, her voice entered Yuna's mind directly. It was cold and ancient, like wind blowing through an empty grave. Human, the queen said. You are brave to come here. Foolish, but brave. Yuna raised her bow. Her hands were shaking, but she forced them to be still. I came to kill you. The queen made a sound that might have been laughter. It echoed in Yuna's skull, painful and mocking. Kill me? You are one small creature with a stick and string. I have destroyed worlds. I have eaten civilizations. You are nothing. Maybe, Yuna said, but I have something you do not expect. She pulled back her bowstring. The purple arrow caught the light, glowing like a tiny star. The queen's 100 eyes focused on it. For the first time, something changed in her expression. Something that might have been curiosity. What is that? The queen asked. A gift from Earth, Yuna said. A gift of death. She released the arrow. It flew straight and true, just like every arrow Yuna had ever shot. Time seemed to slow down. The arrow traveled through the hot air, spinning gently. Its purple tip left a faint trail of color behind it. The queen did not try to dodge. She was too arrogant, too certain of her own power. She simply raised one of her massive claws to block the tiny weapon. The arrow struck her claw and stopped. The shell cracked slightly, but the arrow did not penetrate. The toxin touched the queen's body, but only on the surface. It was not enough. The queen looked at the arrow stuck in her claw. Then she looked at Yuna. Her 100 eyes burned with anger. You think you can hurt me with this toy? I am eternal. I am infinite. Your poison cannot touch me. But Yuna saw something the queen did not say. Around the point where the arrow had struck, the golden shell was turning black. The toxin was working. Slowly, but it was working. She needed to hit a soft spot. Somewhere the toxin could enter the queen's body directly. Yuna reached for another arrow. The queen moved faster than something so large should be able to move. Her claw swept toward Yuna like a falling building. Yuna jumped aside. The claw crashed into the floor where she had been standing, creating a crater 3 meters deep. The impact threw Yuna through the air. She hit the ground hard and rolled. Pain exploded in her shoulder. She had landed badly, but she forced herself to stand. There was no time for pain, no time for weakness. The queen attacked again. This time she used her other claw, sweeping it horizontally. Yuna dropped flat and the claw passed over her head so close she could feel the wind of it. She used the moment to aim. The queen's body was mostly covered in golden shell, but there were gaps between the segments. Small openings where the joints connected. If she could hit one of those gaps, Yuna shot her second arrow. It flew toward the queen's neck, aiming for a dark line between two plates of shell. But the queen was ready now. She twisted her body, and the arrow missed by centimeters. It flew past her and disappeared into the darkness beyond. 2 arrows gone. 3 left. Yuna ran. She could not stay in one place. The queen's claws were too fast. If she stopped moving, she would die. The chamber was full of strange structures. Pillars of bone. Pools of black liquid. Mounds of something that looked like eggs. Yuna used them for cover, ducking and weaving between them. Running will not save you. The queen's voice echoed in her mind. I can feel your heartbeat. I can taste your fear. You cannot hide from me. Yuna did not answer. She saved her breath for running. Her shoulder was burning with pain. Every step sent shocks through her body. But she kept moving. The queen was angry now. She was not used to being challenged. For thousands of years, she had been the ultimate power. No creature had ever dared to attack her. This small human was an insult to her pride. She screamed. The sound was not in Yuna's ears, but in her mind. It was pure rage, loud and terrible. Yuna fell to her knees, her hands pressing against her head. Blood dripped from her nose. I will take you apart piece by piece, the queen said. I will make you watch as I destroy your species. Every human will die because of what you have done here today. Yuna looked up. Through her pain, through her fear, she saw something. The queen was moving toward her, but she was leaving her back exposed. And on that back, near the base of her neck, there was a thin membrane. It was red and pulsing. Probably a breathing organ. If Yuna could hit that spot, the toxin would go directly into the queen's bloodstream. But how? The queen was facing her. The spot was on her back. It was impossible. Then Yuna remembered something. A trick she had learned years ago during her training for the Olympics. A trick shot that most people thought was just for show. It involved bouncing an arrow off a hard surface to change its direction. Could she do it here? In this chamber of alien biology? With an arrow coated in deadly poison? She had to try. Yuna looked around. There was a pillar of bone to her right. It was smooth and hard. If she hit it at the right angle, the arrow might bounce toward the queen's back. It was a 1 in a million shot. The kind of thing that only existed in movies and dreams. But Yuna had made impossible shots before. She had won Olympic gold with a shot that everyone said was impossible. She was the best archer in the world. Maybe the best who had ever lived. If anyone could do this, it was her. Yuna stood up. The pain in her shoulder screamed at her, but she ignored it. She took out her third arrow and placed it on her string. The queen was close now, 10 meters away. Her 100 eyes were bright with hatred. Her claws were raised for the killing blow. Die, human, she said. Yuna smiled. Ladies first. She shot, but not at the queen. She shot at the pillar. The arrow struck the bone at a perfect 45-degree angle. It bounced, changing direction completely. Now it was flying toward the queen's back. The queen saw it too late. She tried to turn, tried to block, but her massive body was too slow. The arrow flew over her shoulder and struck the red membrane at the base of her neck. This time, it penetrated. The queen screamed again, but this scream was different. It was not rage. It was pain. Real, terrible pain. Purple lines spread from the wound like cracks in ice. The toxin was entering her blood. It was spreading through her body. The queen's golden shell began to darken, turning black around the wound. "What have you done?" The queen's voice was weaker now, confused. "What is this poison?" "It burns! It burns!" Yuna took out her fourth arrow. The queen was hurt, but she was still alive. Still dangerous. Yuna needed to finish this. She aimed at the queen's head, at the center of those 100 eyes. If she could hit the brain directly, the toxin would kill the queen in seconds. But the queen was not finished. Even as poison spread through her veins, she attacked. Her body lunged forward with all its remaining strength. Her massive form crashed toward Yuna like a falling mountain. Yuna jumped backward, but she was not fast enough. One of the queen's claws caught her leg, sending her spinning through the air. She crashed into a wall of flesh and bone. Her bow flew from her hands and landed several meters away. Yuna tried to stand, but her leg would not support her. It was broken. She could see the bone through her torn clothes. Blood pooled on the floor around her. The queen was dying. Yuna could see it. The golden shell was now mostly black. The 100 eyes were dimming one by one. But she was still moving, still coming closer. "If I die," the queen said, her voice now just a whisper in Yuna's mind, "you die with me. Your species will still fall. Other queens will come. You have won nothing." Yuna looked at her bow. It was so close but so far away. She could not reach it. Her leg was useless. Her strength was gone, but she still had one arrow in her hand. The 5th arrow. The last one. The queen loomed over her. Her remaining eyes looked down at the small, broken human. There was something like respect in them now. Respect for the creature that had done what no other had ever done. "You fought well," the queen said. "For a human. I will remember you when I am dead." Yuna gripped the arrow tightly. It was not meant to be used like this. Arrows were for bows. But she had no choice. With every bit of strength left in her body, Yuna stabbed upward. The arrow went into the soft underside of the queen's head, into the gap between her lower jaw and neck. It went deep, all the way to the feathers. The Queen Funa opened her eyes. She was still lying on the floor of the queen's chamber. The massive body of the dead queen was beside her, cold and dark. But something was different. Everything was different. She could see in ways she had never seen before. Colors she had no names for danced across her vision. The walls of the chamber, which had seemed dark and lifeless before, now glowed with energy. She could see the life force flowing through the ship, like blood through veins. She tried to move and found that her leg no longer hurt. She looked down and gasped. The wound was gone. The bone had healed. Her skin was whole again, covered with faint purple lines that pulsed gently with light. Yuna stood up. Her body felt strange, stronger, faster. She flexed her hands and saw that her fingernails had changed. They were harder now, almost like claws. Her eyes, when she touched them, felt different too, larger, more sensitive. But the biggest change was in her mind. She could hear them, all of them. Millions of voices, billions of thoughts. The entire Velix species was connected to her. They were confused, lost, crying out for guidance. Their queen was dead, and they did not know what to do. At first, the noise was overwhelming. Yuna fell to her knees, holding her head. It was like standing in a stadium full of people, all screaming at once. She wanted to make it stop. She wanted silence, but then she realized something. The voices were not attacking her. They were calling to her. They were looking for a leader, for a queen, And somehow, impossibly, that queen was now her. Yuna took deep breaths, trying to calm herself. She focused on one voice at a time. Slowly, the chaos began to organize itself. She could feel the different types of Velix. The soldiers, strong and simple. The workers, patient and steady. The scouts, quick and curious. Each type had its own feeling, its own song. She also felt something else. A deep sadness. A longing. The Velix were not evil. They were not monsters. They were a species that had lost its home millions of years ago. They had been wandering through space ever since, looking for a new planet to call their own. Their queens had become twisted over time, turning to conquest instead of cooperation. But underneath all the violence, the Velix just wanted to survive. Yuna understood now why Dohin's research had said that aliens had visited Earth before. The Velix had been here in the distant past. Some of their biology had mixed with Earth's plants and animals. That was why the ghost flower toxin worked on them. It was calling to something ancient in their blood thought, and that same connection was why Yuna was now part of their hive mind. The toxin had not just killed the queen. It had rewritten Yuna's brain, giving her the ability to connect with the Velix consciousness. She was human and Velix at the same time. A bridge between two worlds. She stood up again. Her body was stable now. Her mind was clear. She looked at the dead queen and felt a strange sadness. This creature had been evil, yes. She had killed and enslaved. But she had also been the product of millions of years of desperate survival. In another universe, maybe they could have been friends. But this was not that universe. And Yuna had work to do. She closed her eyes and reached out with her new mental power. She found the minds of the Velix soldiers first. There were hundreds of them in this ship alone. They were panicking, running through the corridors, not knowing what to do. Their queen was dead. Their purpose was gone. Yuna spoke to them, not with words, but with feelings. She sent them calm. She sent them peace. She told them that a new queen was here. A different kind of queen. One who would lead them to a better future. The soldiers stopped panicking. One by one, they fell silent. They turned their many eyes toward the chamber where Yuna stood. And then, slowly, they began to move. They came to her, crawling through the organic corridors of the ship. They gathered outside the queen's chamber, waiting. Yuna opened the door and stepped out. The sight before her would have terrified any human. Hundreds of alien soldiers, each one a perfect killing machine, lined the corridor. Their eyes glowed in the darkness. Their claws clicked against the floor. But Yuna was not afraid. She was their queen now. They would never hurt her. She walked forward, and the soldiers parted before her. They bowed their triangular heads, showing submission. Some of them made sounds, clicks, and whistles that Yuna understood perfectly. They were greeting her, welcoming her, pledging their loyalty. Yuna reached out and touched one of them. A young soldier, smaller than the others. It trembled under her hand, not from fear but from awe. To be touched by the queen was the highest honor. "I am not like the old queen," Yuna said, speaking both with her voice and her mind. "I am human. I am Velix. I am something new. And I will lead you to a different path." The soldier made a sound of agreement. All the soldiers made the same sound. The corridor echoed with their voices. Yuna continued walking. She knew where she needed to go. The bridge. The control center of the ship. From there, she could reach all the Velix on Earth. All the Velix in space. Every single member of the species. The ship was massive, but Yuna moved through it quickly. Her new body was fast and tireless. The corridors that had seemed so confusing before now made perfect sense. She understood the organic architecture. She could feel the ship breathing around her, responding to her presence. When she reached the bridge, she found it full of activity. Velix workers were rushing around, operating strange machines made of bone and metal. They stopped when they saw her enter. Every eye turned to look at her. Una walked to the center of the bridge. There was a platform there, raised above the rest of the room. The Queen's throne. It was shaped like a giant nest, curved and comfortable. It was designed for a body much larger than Una's, but when she climbed into it, it seemed to adjust itself. It wrapped around her, supporting her, connecting her to the ship's systems. Through the connection, Una could feel everything. Every ship in the Velix fleet. Every soldier on Earth. Every worker in every camp. They were all there, all waiting for her command. The old queen had used this connection to spread fear and control. She had kept her children in line through pain and punishment. But Una would not rule that way. She closed her eyes and sent out her first message. Stop. It was a simple command, but it carried the weight of her new power. Every Velix on Earth heard it. Every soldier froze in place. Every worker stopped what they were doing. The old way is over, Una continued. No more killing. No more capturing. No more pain. From this moment forward, we will find a new way. A way of peace. The hive mind buzzed with confusion. Peace? What was peace? For millions of years, the Velix had known only war. They did not understand what Una was asking Dot, so she showed them. She sent them images from her own mind. Memories of her life on Earth. She showed them her parents, full of love and kindness. She showed them her brother, laughing and playing. She showed them the archery field behind her house, the simple joy of hitting the target. She showed them the sunrise over the mountains, the beauty of a world at peace. The Velix had never seen anything like it. Their culture had no concept of beauty or peace or love. But through Una's memories, they began to understand. They saw that there was another way to live. A way without war. A way without fear. And something amazing happened. The Velix began to respond. At first just a few, then more and more. They sent their own memories to Una. Memories of their lost homeworld before it was destroyed. Memories of families and friends. Memories of a time when they, too, had known peace. Tears rolled down Una's face. She was not crying from sadness. She was crying because she understood now. The Velix were not so different from humans. They had just been broken by suffering. They had forgotten who they were. She would help them remember. But first, she had to deal with the immediate problem. The captured humans. There were billions of them, locked in camps all over the world. They were scared and hungry and dying. She had to free them. Una sent out another command. Open the camps. Release the humans. Give them food and water. Treat them with kindness. She felt the soldiers responding. All across the world, camp gates opened. Humans stepped out into the sunlight, confused and disbelieving. They expected to be attacked. Instead, the Velix soldiers stepped back and bowed. Some of the humans ran. Others stood frozen in shock. Many collapsed and cried. After months of captivity, freedom was almost too much to handle. But slowly, they began to understand. The aliens were not attacking. The aliens were letting them go. Somehow, impossibly, the nightmare was over. Back on the ship, Una smiled. It was working. Her connection to the hive mind was strong. Her commands were being followed. The Velix respected her, maybe even loved her. She was their queen now, in every way that mattered. But she was still human. She still had family and friends. And she needed to let them know she was alive. She reached out with her mind, searching for Taiho. He was far away, back in the mountains where the resistance was hiding. But she could feel him. His worry. His grief. He thought she was dead. Una sent him a message. Not words, because he could not hear her thoughts like the Velix could. But feelings, love, reassurance, hope. Far away, in the abandoned mine, Taiho suddenly stopped moving. He was in the middle of organizing supplies when a strange warmth filled his chest. He looked. 1 year had passed since the day Yuna killed the Velix queen. The world was different now. Not healed, not yet, but healing. Cities that had been destroyed were being rebuilt. Farms that had been burned were growing again. And everywhere, humans and Velix were learning to live together. It was not easy. The first few months had been chaos. When Yuna freed the captured humans, many of them wanted revenge. They attacked the Velix soldiers who had held them prisoner. Some Velix fought back. Blood was spilled on both sides, but Yuna did not give up. She traveled from camp to camp, from city to city, speaking to both humans and Velix. She showed them her own transformation. She let them see that she was both human and alien now. She proved that the two species could exist together in the same body, the same mind. Slowly, the violence stopped. People began to listen. Do-hyun was the first human leader to officially meet with Yuna after her transformation. He came to the main Velix ship, nervous but curious. When he saw her, his eyes went wide. "Yuna," he said, "you are different." She smiled. The purple lines on her skin pulsed gently. Her eyes, once dark brown, now had flecks of gold in them. "I am still me, just more." Do-hyun approached slowly. He had spent his whole life studying the Velix. Now he was standing in front of their queen, a queen who had once been a human woman from Bizen. "How is this possible?" he asked. "The toxin should have killed you. It kills all organic life it touches." "It did kill me," Yuna said. "For a moment, I was dead." But the Velix hive mind reached out. It was looking for a new queen, and it found me. The toxin had opened a door in my brain, a door that connected me to their consciousness. So instead of dying, I was reborn. Do-hyun shook his head in amazement. "You are the greatest discovery in human history. A perfect blend of two species. The implications are incredible." "I am not a discovery," Yuna said gently. "I am a person, and I have a lot of work to do." She did have a lot of work. Every day brought new challenges. The Velix were not used to thinking for themselves. For millions of years, they had followed their queens without question. Now Yuna was asking them to be different, to make their own choices, to treat other species with respect. Some of them learned quickly. The younger Velix, especially, were curious and adaptable. They watched humans with fascination, learning their languages and customs. Some of them even developed what Yuna could only call friendships with humans. But the older Velix struggled. They had been soldiers and workers for centuries. They knew nothing else. Yuna had to be patient with them. She had to show them, again and again, that the old ways were over. The humans had their own problems. Many of them hated the Velix too much to ever forgive. They had lost family members to the invasion. They had suffered in the camps. Asking them to accept the aliens as neighbors was asking too much. Yuna understood their anger. She felt it herself sometimes. Late at night, when she remembered the day the invasion began, she could still feel the fear and rage. The Velix had taken so much from her world, but she also knew that holding on to that anger would destroy everyone. Humans and Velix were connected now through her. If one species tried to destroy the other, both would suffer. The only way forward was together. She created councils where humans and Velix could meet and talk. At first, the meetings were tense. People shouted and threatened each other. Some meetings ended in fights, but Yuna kept them going. She moderated every discussion, calming tempers and finding common ground. After a few months, something began to change. The shouting became less frequent. People started listening to each other. They realized that they had more in common than they thought. Both species loved their families. Both species wanted their children to have a good future. Both species were capable of kindness and cruelty. The first joint project was a memorial. It was built in Seoul, on the site where the old Queen's ship had hovered during the invasion. Humans and Velix worked together to create it. It honored everyone who had died from both species. When the memorial was finished, Yuna gave a speech. Thousands of people watched, both in person and through broadcasts around the world. "Today, we remember," she said. "We remember the lives lost, the pain suffered, the world that was broken. We cannot undo what happened. We cannot bring back the dead. But we can make their sacrifice mean something. We can build a future they would be proud of." She looked out at the crowd. Humans stood beside Velix. Children sat on the shoulders of their parents. Some of those children had never known the old world. They had been born after the invasion. For them, humans and Velix living together was normal. "I was born human," Yuna continued. "I became something else. But I am still the same person inside. I still love my family. I still believe in kindness. And I still believe in humanity. We are small. We are fragile. But we are also brave. We fight for what we believe in. We never give up. That is our greatest strength." She paused. The crowd was silent, waiting. The Velix came here as conquerors. They thought humans were weak. They were wrong. We are the strongest species in this galaxy. Not because of our weapons or our technology. Because of our spirit. We turned an invasion into an opportunity. We took their queen and made her our own. And now we will lead them into a new age. The crowd began to cheer. Humans clapped and shouted. Velix clicked and whistled. The sound rose into the sky like a wave, washing away the last shadows of the old world. Taeho watched from the front row. He had tears in his eyes. His sister, who he had thought was dead, was now the most powerful being in the galaxy. And she was still the same Yuna who had taught him to shoot arrows in their backyard. After the ceremony, he found her behind the stage. She was alone, looking up at the stars that were just beginning to appear in the evening sky. "That was a good speech," he said. Yuna turned and smiled. "You think so?" "I was nervous. I am not used to public speaking." Tayo laughed. "You command billions of aliens with your mind, but you are nervous about speaking to a crowd?" "They are different things," Yuna said. "The Velix understand me perfectly. Humans are more complicated." They stood together in comfortable silence. The sky grew darker and more stars appeared. Somewhere up there, the Velix fleet was orbiting. Thousands of ships waiting for their queen's commands. "What happens now?" Taeho asked. Yuna thought for a moment. "Now we rebuild. Not just cities and roads, but trust, understanding. We teach humans about the Velix, and we teach the Velix about humans. We find ways to help each other. The Velix have technology we cannot imagine. They can help us explore space, cure diseases, clean our environment. And we can help them remember how to be more than soldiers. How to be artists and dreamers and lovers." "That sounds like a lot of work." "It is," Yuna admitted. "But I have time. The transformation changed my body. I will live much longer than a normal human now. Maybe centuries. Maybe forever. I will have time to see this through." Taeho was quiet. He had not thought about that. His sister would outlive him. She would outlive everyone she knew. That was a heavy burden. Yuna seemed to read his thoughts. "Do not be sad. Every life is precious, no matter how long. I will treasure every moment with you. And when you are gone, I will carry your memory with me. You will never be forgotten." She hugged him. He felt the warmth of her body, now slightly different from a normal human's. But it was still his sister. Still the woman who had protected him since they were children. "I love you," Taiho said. I love you too, Yuna replied. Always. The months turned into years. The rebuilding continued. Cities rose from the ashes, better than before. Farms produced more food than ever. Technology advanced rapidly as humans and Velix shared their knowledge. Yuna led it all. She traveled constantly, visiting every continent, every country. She met with presidents and prime ministers, scientists and artists, ordinary people and extraordinary heroes. She listened to their concerns and answered their questions. She showed them that the future was not something to fear. The Velix fleet became a force for good. Ships that had once carried invaders now carried explorers. They visited distant planets and moons, discovering new resources and new wonders. Human astronauts trained alongside Velix pilots. Together, they pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Some humans still resisted. They formed groups that wanted to destroy the Velix. They bombed buildings and attacked aliens on the street. Yuna dealt with them carefully. She did not want to use her power to crush dissent. She believed in freedom, even for those who hated her. But she also protected the Velix. Anyone who committed violence against them was brought to justice. Not by alien soldiers, but by human courts. The rule of law applied to everyone. Slowly, the resistance faded. The old hatreds lost their power. Children grew up not knowing what it was like to fear the Velix. They played games together, human and alien, laughing and running through parks that their parents had helped rebuild. 10 years after the invasion, a special celebration was held. It was called Unity Day, and it marked the official end of the reconstruction. Every city on Earth held festivals. Music played in the streets. Fireworks lit the sky. Yuna watched the celebration from the bridge of the main Velix ship, which now served as her home. The ship had been transformed over the years. Human decorations hung alongside Velix art. The corridors were bright and welcoming. It was no longer a weapon of war. It was a symbol of hope,